They sent me a save the date for my sister's wedding. My name was not on the guest list. Let me say that again, because I still have to sometimes, just to remind myself it was real. They mailed a save the date to my apartment, my address, my name on the envelope, and when I called my mother to ask what time I should fly in, she got very quiet and then said, "Sweetie, the venue only holds so many people. You understand?" I understood. I had been understanding my entire adult life. What my mother did not know, what none of them knew, was that the venue they had chosen for my sister's wedding was a property I had been co-financing for 3 years. Not metaphorically. Not I helped out once. I mean, my name was on the loan documents. I mean, the business owner, a woman named Lenora who ran a restored farmhouse event space about 40 minutes outside of Portland, had come to me when the bank tightened its lending criteria in 2022, and I had co-signed a private lending agreement that kept her doors open. In exchange, I held a lien adjacent financial interest in the property and a standing right of first refusal on any major booking disputes. I did not tell my family this. There was no reason to. It was a business arrangement, not a conversation piece at Christmas dinner. So when my mother told me the venue only holds so many people, I said, "Okay, Mom," and I hung up. And then I sat on my kitchen floor for a while, which is something I do when I need to think without any of the noise of being a person getting in the way. I want to be honest with you about something before I go any further. I am not a dramatic person. I do not make scenes. I have never thrown a drink at anyone, never sent a screaming voicemail, never shown up somewhere I wasn't wanted. That is not who I am. But I have also spent the better part of a decade being the financial backbone of a family that treated me like a liability, and at some point the math stops working no matter how patient you are. My name is not important. What's important is that I was 31 years old, working as a financial analyst in Portland, and I had spent years being what I came to think of as the load-bearing wall of my family. Not the pretty wall with the artwork. The one inside the structure that nobody sees but that holds the whole thing up. It started when I was 24. My parents had overextended themselves on a home refinance right before interest rates climbed, and my father came to me. Not to my sister, not to my brother-in-law-to-be, who was already in the picture by then. He came to me. Because I was the responsible one, I covered 3 months of their mortgage payments while they reorganized. $6,000. I told myself it was a loan. I kept a spreadsheet. Then my sister's college tuition got complicated when her financial aid package changed junior year. My parents asked if I could help bridge the gap. I did. Another $4,000. I updated the spreadsheet, then the car my mother needed when hers died, then the security deposit when my parents moved to a smaller place, then the vet bills when their dog got sick, which I know sounds minor, but I'm telling you it was never minor, because it was never just one thing. It was always one thing behind another thing, behind another thing. It every single time it was me they called. Not because I was the most financially stable. My sister made decent money by then, but because I had never said no. That was my role. I was the one who didn't say no. I kept the spreadsheet current. By the time my sister announced her engagement, I had extended something in the range of $47,000 to my family over 7 years, almost none of which had been repaid in any formal sense. There had been birthday dinners. There had been a "we'll get it back to you." There had been a fruit basket one Christmas that I'm fairly certain was regifted, but no checks. No Venmo transfers. No acknowledgement, really, that the money had ever moved at all. My sister's fiancé, I'll call him her fiancé because that's what he was at the time, had never liked me. I don't think it was personal. I think he had a type of person he understood, and I was not that type. He was a loud, backslapping, big personality kind of man who made everything feel like a tailgate party, and I was the quiet one in the corner, doing mental accounting of everyone's financial exposure. We were not built to get along. He had started, subtly at first, repositioning me in the family narrative. I was negative. I was always bringing up money. I was hard to be around. My mother, who loves my sister more than anything on earth and who wanted this wedding to go smoothly, started to absorb these things. I could feel it in the way conversations shifted when I was on the phone with her. The slight pulling away. the way she'd end calls faster than she used to. I had been excluded from the bachelorette trip the previous spring. It's just her close girlfriends, you know how it is? And from the dress shopping, which I found out about afterward when my mother posted photos. But the wedding itself? I had assumed. I had genuinely, in the deep down part of me that still believed families were fundamentally safe, assumed I would be there. The save the date arrived on a Tuesday. By Thursday, I had confirmed with my mother that I was not invited. By Friday, I had pulled up the lending documents I had signed with Lenora. Now I want to be very clear about something because I know what this sounds like. I am not the kind of person who weaponizes financial leverage. I'm not. What I did was not a weapon. What I did was exercise a contractual right that I had held for 3 years and simply never had occasion to use. The agreement I had with Lenora included a clause, standard in private co-lending arrangements, that gave me the right to be notified of and to review any event contracts associated with the property during the term of the agreement. It wasn't designed for this situation. It was designed to protect against the property being used in ways that might create liability. But it meant that I had a legal standing to ask questions about any booking. I called Lenora on a Saturday morning. She was lovely, as she always was. We had a warm relationship. I told her I had become aware that a family member had booked her venue for a wedding and that I wanted to understand the terms of that booking given my interest in the property. She was quiet for a moment, then said she would email me the contract. The contract was for 48 guests. Catered dinner, open bar, ceremony on the South Lawn. The date was June 14th. The deposit was non-refundable. I sat with this for a week, a full week. I did not call my mother. I did not text my sister. I went to work, I came home. I ran my usual Saturday errands, and I sat with the question of what kind of person I wanted to be. Here is what I decided. I was not going to cancel anything. I was not going to call Lenora and pull some kind of financial fire alarm. That was not the move, and more importantly, it was not who I was. What I was going to do was stop. Just stop. Stop being the load-bearing wall. Stop in a way that was quiet and complete and permanent. The week before I made any moves, I did 3 things. I opened a new personal checking account at a different bank. I contacted a financial advisor who specialized in family loan recovery. Yes, that is a real practice area. And yes, I highly recommend it if you are in a situation like the one I am describing. And I pulled out my spreadsheet. The advisor, a very calm man named Gerald who had clearly heard everything, looked at my documentation and said, "This is recoverable." Not all of it. Not in a courtroom necessarily, because informal family loans are complicated, but enough of it, in small claims and through structured demand letters, to make a point. He helped me draft 3 letters, one to my parents, one to my sister, one to the family account I had been quietly contributing to for years under the impression it was a shared emergency fund. I sent the letters via certified mail on a Monday. My sister called me that Wednesday. She did not lead with hello. "What is this?" she said. "What is this letter?" "It's a formal request for repayment of documented loans," I said. "Gerald's contact information is at the bottom if you have questions about the process." "Who is Gerald?" "My financial advisor." There was a pause. "Mom is crying." "I know this is a lot to take in," I said. "The letters give you 90 days. You can't be serious right now. My wedding is in 6 weeks. I want to tell you that I felt something dramatic in that moment. I want to tell you I felt righteous or powerful or even sad. Mostly what I felt was tired, the specific exhaustion of someone who has been propping something up for so long that putting it down feels less like relief and more like finally admitting how heavy it was. "I know," I said. "I hope it's beautiful." Then I got off the phone. What came next was the part I had not fully prepared for, which was the campaign. My sister's fiancé was, among other things, very good at rallying people. Within 48 hours of the letters arriving, I had received calls from 2 aunts, one uncle, a cousin who I hadn't spoken to in 4 years, and my mother's closest friend, a woman named Bet who made it her personal mission to remind me that family doesn't do this to family. I did not argue with any of them. I let them say their piece, and then I said, "I understand you feel that way," and I ended the call. I had read enough about family enmeshment to know that engaging was the trap. The conversation they wanted me to have was the one where I apologized and withdrew the letters. I was not going to have that conversation. My father called on a Thursday night. My father is not a confrontational man by nature. He is more of a conflict avoider, which is probably part of how the family had operated the way it did for so long. He sounded genuinely bewildered. "Honey," he said, "where is all this coming from? The letters explain it pretty clearly, Dad. But we're a family. We help each other." "I know," I said. "I've been helping for a long time." Another pause. "Your sister is devastated." "I know she is. I was pretty devastated when I found out I wasn't invited to her wedding." He didn't have an answer for that. We stayed on the phone in silence for a moment, and then he said, "I didn't know you felt that way." Which was the most honest thing I'd heard from my family in years, and which also made me incredibly sad, because the truth was I had felt that way for a very long time and had simply never said it. I said, "I know, Dad," and I let him go. Around the same time, I also made a quieter move that nobody knew about yet. I contacted Lenora again, not to interfere with the booking. I had decided I wasn't going to do that. But I did ask her, gently, whether she was aware of the specific terms of my co-lending agreement and whether she'd had her attorney review the notification clause. She hadn't, fully. After a conversation with her own lawyer, she sent a letter to my sister's fiancé informing him that the property's co-lender had a right to be listed as a notified party on any events during the term of the agreement, and that a formal acknowledgement of this would be needed for the contract to proceed. It was a form letter. It was bureaucratic. It was, on its face, completely boring. It was also, for a man who had spent months quietly maneuvering to push me out of my own family, the equivalent of finding out the floor you've been dancing on belongs to someone else. His response, relayed through my sister, then through my mother, then somehow through the cousin I hadn't spoken to in 4 years, was that I was doing this on purpose, that I was trying to ruin everything, and that I was vindictive and unstable. He was correct about exactly one of those things, and it was not unstable. The weeks before the wedding were strange. I went to work. I went to the gym. I had dinner with two friends who knew the full situation and who kept gently asking if I was okay in the way that people do when they're not sure the answer is yes. I was okay. I was more than okay, actually, in a way I hadn't been in a long time, because for the first time in years I was not managing anyone else's crisis. I was just living in my own life. The certified mail letters generated 2 formal responses in the 90-day window. My parents' letter came back with a proposed repayment plan. Modest, slower than I would have liked, but documented and signed. My sister's letter generated no written response, but her fiancé's family's attorney sent a letter attempting to characterize the loans as gifts, which is a move that Gerald had told me to expect and had prepared responses for. I let Gerald handle it. The wedding happened in June. I was not there. I know from a photo my cousin posted that the south lawn looked beautiful, that my sister wore a dress with a long train, that there were white flowers everywhere and string lights and the kind of late afternoon golden light that makes everything look like a memory before it even is one. I spent that Saturday at a farmer's market and then a bookstore and then a long walk along the waterfront. I bought a paperback and a bunch of sunflowers. I sat by the water for a while. I want to be honest, it hurt. It still hurts, and the way that certain kinds of grief just live in you rather than resolving. I did not want to not be at my sister's wedding. I wanted to be invited. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be the kind of family member who gets to stand in the photographs and ugly cry during the vows and eat too much cake and dance badly to something embarrassing at the reception. I wanted that. I grieve that I didn't get it. But I also know this. For the first time in 7 years, no one called me with an emergency that week. No one asked me to bridge a gap or cover a shortfall or be the responsible one. My phone was quiet in a way it had not been in a very long time. That quiet was the beginning of something. About 6 weeks after the wedding, I received a call from my mother. It was the first time we had spoken since the week the letters arrived. She sounded smaller than she usually did, more careful. "I've been thinking," she said. "Okay. I think we handled things with you very badly." For a long time, I didn't say anything. Your father and I talked, she continued, about the money, about all of it. And I think we took advantage of the fact that you were always willing, and that wasn't fair to you. I sat with this for a moment. It wasn't, I said. I'm sorry, she said. And she said it simply, without conditions, without a pivot to what I needed to do next. Just, I'm sorry. I don't know yet what that means for us. We are in a careful, slow place, my mother and I. We talk occasionally. It is not what it was, but I'm not sure what it was ever actually good. We are building something new which is slower and less comfortable and possibly better. My sister and I have not spoken. Her husband, they married, it is done, still believes I was vindictive, and she has not yet found her way to a different position. I hold space for the possibility that she will eventually. I do not hold my breath. The formal repayment process with my parents is ongoing. Gerald's contact continues to facilitate it. It will not make me whole. It was never about being made whole. Not really. It was about being seen. About insisting, finally, that what I had given meant something and that what had been done to me meant something too. I terminated my co-lending agreement with Lenora's property this past spring, cleanly and amicably. She sent me a card. The farmhouse is doing well. She booked 42 weddings last year, which is more than she has ever done. And she told me she had restructured her contracts after a conversation to make the notification clauses cleaner and more explicit. She sounded proud of it. I told her she should be. Here is the thing nobody tells you about being the person in your family who carries everything the moment you put it down. The family doesn't just pick it up. They stand there looking at it on the floor. They call other people to come look at it. They talk about how it got there and who put it there and whether it was always that heavy. And eventually, some of them figure out how to pick it up themselves, and some of them don't, and some of them keep blaming you for no longer holding it. You cannot control which category your family members fall into. You can only control whether you pick it back up. I didn't pick it back up. I bought the sunflowers. I took the long walk. I let the quiet happen. I live in a one-bedroom apartment with a good coffee maker and a window that gets afternoon light, and I save a percentage of my income every month that belongs entirely to me. I have not updated the family spreadsheet since the day I sent the certified letters. I deleted the file last February on a Tuesday while it was raining, and I felt nothing dramatic at all. Just the small, clean satisfaction of closing a document you will never need to open again. That, I think, was the best return on investment I have ever had.